When we talk about freedom and future, I think it's very important to make sure we look at history in the right lens, in a way that's objective, that tells the story of how we got from one place to the next. What were the influential institutions, cultural norms? What were the things that drove us from one point to the next? This is a bit of the nerd in me, but this idea of colonialism, I'm gonna approach this from an angle that you may not have even really given consideration. We're gonna talk about a few different things on this episode, and everything that we're going to discuss is a part of what ended up being my master's thesis when I graduated from the University of Amsterdam. Very enriching experience, not just living in Amsterdam for 2 years, but taking that time, being a full-time student, studying for a master's. And I've explained on a previous episode how I sort of fell into the program, how I even fell into going to the master's program altogether. I highly encourage you to check out some of the previous episodes to get that context. But while I was there, I had to actually do a thesis, a research thesis. And so very challenging, something that I had never done at that level before. And this thesis led me to this wormhole of research around colonialism, something that I never really explored in much detail before, which is so crazy because now, granted, it could just be me. Maybe it was taught, I wasn't paying attention. This could be very, very possible. Maybe it was given as a homework assignment, but I didn't do the homework. That is also very likely, not just possible, it's very likely. I've always heard that, the US started as 13 colonies, but I never really thought about what that meant to be a colony or a colonizer. I never really thought about that when we talked about the original 13 colonies and that war to declare independence from Great Britain. Even these original 13 colonies weren't always British colonies. Some were settled by the Dutch, some were settled by the Spanish. But when it's all said and done, how the history is written and how it's given to us, it's very interesting. And I think, especially given the context of this podcast, when we talk about freedom and future, I think it's very important to make sure we look at history in the right lens, in a way that's objective, that tells the story of how we got from one place to the next. What were the influential institutions, cultural norms? What were the things that drove us from one point to the next? Colonialism is a huge driver of how we exist in this global society today. It is. And we're going to go over it on the main episode. I got actual academic, empirical evidence to back up everything I'm saying. So it's not just a matter of my opinion, which, just on a complete side note, I think that's where podcasting often goes wrong, is when the podcasters speak about things and they comment and they don't even necessarily have any skin in the game and what they're commenting on. They haven't spent any time in the culture of it. They haven't talked to those individuals in which they're talking about. There's no level of research or journalistic sort of integrity to their opinion.